Okay, so this how-to will be going over changing the LEDs inside of your Xbox 360 controller and the shell. For this how-to, I'll be changing it from the original to a blue clear shell. And you'll be needing a T8 Torx screwdriver. You can get it online on eBay. This is where I got this one. And to start, we need to take off the battery pack, since you don't want current running through the controller. And you want to take off 7 screws altogether. This screw is behind the sticker. I already took off the sticker. I'll be putting it back onto the blue one. Here's the sticker right here. Usually goes over, so make sure you find that screw before you take this thing apart completely. Or you might break the controller. So let's do that. Okay, 1 screw out of the 7. So I'll just jump to the next part. So now that you've got all those screws off, we can start taking off the shell. You need to be careful, so parts will start flying. You might want to start from the back here, make your way up to the front. See them on the other side. Comes right off. Set this off camera. You want to take off the electronics here. Okay, so now I want you to pull up the electronics, but be careful. Everything doesn't go flying. Okay, if you turn this over, everything's still in place. So now that we have the electronics out, we can start with the LEDs, which are on this side. So now I want you to take off the joysticks. Set those aside and turn this over. Now to take off the left trigger and right trigger, you need to push this out and you need to pull this back. Now push this down and there you've got it free. So pull that off by pulling this back, pushing this to the side a bit, pulling it out, but be careful because there's a spring. So pull it off to the side like this and you've got it off. So I want you to do the same for the other side. Push out, push down, pull out. Turn to the side and be careful with the spring, you don't want to lose those. Now to take off this, you have to desolder these from behind right here. So while we're doing the LEDs, I'll take this off while we're at it, since we got black bumpers for the new controller. So now we're going to put a solder end to this while we pry this up. That way it'll come off easy. But first you want to make sure, I've already done it to this side, that you want to hook it. Now, all you have to worry about is pulling this up. Make sure this is right over the little square. You can move it back and forth until it's right above it, so it's ready to be pried off. There you go. Pull this off. Look at that. Right off the board. Now you want to make sure you clean this up. What you could do is put the soldering iron to it and bang it on the soldering iron. Solder comes off. You clean it up. So that way it looks like that. You retain the 3 holes, so you can just slide it right back in and solder it right back on. So let's do that for the other side. So now we have both of the trigger electronics off, and now we want to put them back on. So we want to grab the 2 new pieces that came with them, snap them right into place. Look at that. Now what you want to do is you want to get the electronic and make sure you leave them on the sides that they belong on, and you want to put on the little leg that comes with them. It kind of looks like this. You want to set it into place and make sure the legs come out on the other side. And all you have to do is solder it in. Now do that for this side. Okay, now we can move on to the LEDs. You can see them there. What you need to do is desolder all of them and then solder in a new one. So what I'm going to do for this how-to is I'm only going to desolder one of them, and then I'll do the rest off camera. So before I desolder them, I just want to point out that negative is on, it's positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, and negative. So I don't know if you could see it, but there's the LED I'm going to be putting on, and here's the LED that I'm going to be taking off. So let's do that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you have the right polarity. Make sure it's facing exactly where you want it to. I use a precision tool to help out. Usually hold it down for me too. And that's how you get that LED on. So now that we've got this all together, we can reverse the way we took it apart. Now we get to put the new shell. So we get to put the new joysticks. And now we get to put in the new triggers. Don't forget the springs. So what you want to do is reverse the way we took it off. I'm going to do that for the other side. Now what you want to do is reassemble the part of the control that has the buttons on it and the electrical pad. So and what you want to do is make sure you have the screws from the other controller so you're able to put this together, the D-pad. So let's put the D-pad on. Let's put it in place. You take your screws, use your small screwdriver, and once you got that, screw the other one in. Okay, so now we can put the electrical pad on. Make sure the top and bottom of the shell's on. Make sure the sync button part of the electronics is on. I don't know if you can see that. It's really tiny. Make sure it's in place. You could probably even use the heat sink to melt that little piece of plastic to keep it in place. Wouldn't recommend it though unless you know what you're doing. And now we can put the electrical pad for the D-pad. And now we're ready for the electronics. Make sure everything works properly. So now that we've gotten the electronics in, we can put the rumble back. Before closing it. Take the last piece before we have to screw it back in. There you go. Now I have to do is screw it in. Now when it comes to these new shells, you might have to do some pre-threading. It's very tough at first, but all you have to do is make sure you're careful not to tighten it too hard. I can't tighten it more with 2 fingers, then I don't tighten any further. So you can do that for the next 6. Now that you got that closed, you can turn it over, and I'm just going to add the sticker I had taken off from the other controller. Why? Just because I can. I don't really have to. Then we take the last part, the battery pack. Add some batteries. Now we get to see the fruit of our labor. And that's it for this how-to.